Hello, Libra, and welcome to my channel, Tarot by Gabrielle. This is going to be a general reading for Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus signs, looking at your recent past, your current energy, and your immediate future, answering the question, what do you need to know right now in order to move forward in alignment with your higher self? As always, I've gone ahead and pulled the overall energy for the reading and clarified those messages, so I'll jump into those in just a second. I have the tarot deck that I'll be using already shuffled, as well as the decks that I'll be using in the extended. Any information on the extended reading or on booking a personal reading with me is in the description box below. If you watch the love readings on my channel, then you know that those readings are all about doing the healing. This is not a love reading. This is going to be solely focused on you and looking at what it is that you need to know in order to heal. So if you are trying to do the healing, these are the readings that can help with that. Last thing, please remember these are still general readings, so they're not going to resonate fully for everyone. So do take what resonates and helps your personal situation and leave what does not. All right, Libra. Let's start by looking at your recent past. I want you to bear with me through these overall energies because these seem really vague. So if I speak about them vague, just know we will jump into tarot. But in your recent past, Libra, you have pause with the Queen of Swords. When this pause card came out, there was also the catch your breath card. It kind of feels like things have been very stagnant for you as of recently, specifically in your recent past. Maybe you feel like things aren't progressing the way that you wanted them to. Maybe you feel like things aren't moving forward, or you haven't been able to attract whatever it is that you want. But with this pause energy, or with this pause card coming out, I feel like what it's kind of saying is that it needed to happen, especially being coupled with that catch your breath card. Now, in your current energy, you have the big picture with the Two of Swords. This is where it gets a little vague because this feels like making decisions for yourself, or one big decision. It could be like one big decision, or this is talking about a lot of different decisions that you're making that are like different, by looking at things from a bigger picture perspective. You know, when we're in the middle of a situation, I kind of like to relate it to like when you're, say that there's like this valley, and in the middle of this valley is like a city. The city is ginormous, but you don't see how big it is because you're in the middle of it. You can only see what's directly around you. But then when you climb up to that mountain, when you get to the top of that mountain, you can really see everything, and it gives you a whole different perspective. And when we make things from that 30,000 foot view, from that, apparently this is a 30,000 foot mountain, I don't know. When we make things from that, when we make decisions from that 30,000 foot view, we're taking into account all of the information, not just how we feel in that moment. Because sometimes when we make actions based on how we feel in the moment, when we take action or make decisions based on that, we can end up sabotaging. So I'm not saying that's what's happening, but that's kind of the energy, overall energy that I'm seeing in your current energy. Then in your immediate future, you have intuition with the Seven of Swords in reverse. So I do feel like this is a lot about learning to follow intuitive guidance, or maybe you have been trying to follow intuitive guidance and strengthening that a little bit. But I also see with the Seven of Swords in reverse, it's almost like there's information that is revealed to you. Information that's revealed to you that you have intuitive feelings about already. Like it's like you think something's coming, or you think something's going to happen, or you think something's true. And then it feels like this is confirmation of your intuition kind of in the future. But let's jump in. Let's see how that ties into everything. So let's start, Libra, by looking at your recent past. You have pause with the Queen of Swords. This is for Libra's recent past, please. Pause with the Queen of Swords. This is for Libra's recent past. One more. This is for Libra's recent past, please. Recent past for Libra. Ooh, okay. Ten of Cups in reverse, Two of Wands in reverse, Ten of Wands in reverse, and then Two of Swords in reverse, which is interesting because you have it upright in your current energy. Okay. Your expectations in your recent past were not being met. I feel like you expected things to go a lot differently than they did. I'm going to be honest, something in your recent past wasn't in alignment with you, isn't in alignment with you. If you're still kind of invested in it, I don't know for sure. with the Two of Wands in reverse, it's like it doesn't align with your path, with your spiritual path, or the path that's meant for you, which is ultimately your path to fulfillment, to your dream life. And maybe you had certain expectations about how something was going to play out, and it didn't happen that way. But typically when things don't go the way they expect, it doesn't mean that they're not working out for us. It just means that they're not working out in the way that we thought they were going to. But I don't know if you've ever heard, like, just because things aren't working out doesn't mean they're not working out. So just because your expectations weren't met, you were experiencing kind of that stagnancy in your recent past, it doesn't mean that things aren't working out for you. In fact, it just means that things aren't working out the way that you expected, which typically when they work out, when we kind of lean on faith and lean on the universe's guidance, they end up working out a heck of a lot better than what we were originally hoping for and expecting. Which I kind of feel is a little bit about what this reading is talking about. So let's get more for Libra's recent past. King of Swords, Three of Pentacles in reverse, Sun, and Hierophant. Something very much fell apart in your recent past. I still see this King of Swords as you. Whether you're male or female, this reading can still very much be for you because we have the Queen and King of Swords. I feel like that energy is, I know that that's not always what that card means, but I feel like that energy is relating to you in this message. Then you have this Three of Pentacles in reverse, talking about things kind of falling apart. To you, it felt like maybe your life was falling apart. Maybe there was like a relationship fell apart, which made you think that, you were going to end up alone forever, or whatever the case was for you. Because whatever this was that fell apart was once in your mind with the Sun your potential for happiness, or what you thought, like you thought that if things worked out the way that you expected, that was your only path to happiness. And because things didn't work out like you expected, I feel like there's a part of you that believes that now you're not going to be happy, or that you're not going to be able to regain that happiness or something. Or at least you were feeling like this in your recent past. But then you have the Hierophant, which is saying that there's a different perspective that's needed, and that's why I feel like you have this big picture, is again, if we zoom in on like tiny moments in our life, and you can kind of think about this, as in your life as a whole. Like when you look back on those moments that you thought would break you, that you thought you were never going to get through, when you look back at your hardest days and you thought you were never going to make it through those things, you did. You made it through, and you probably grew, and you learned a lot, and you moved forward with a newfound sense of wisdom because of those situations. And so what I'm getting at is, when we look at things, and we all do this, right? Because we're human beings having a very real human experience. When we look at our life from like a microscopic level, and we zoom in on certain moments, we can think, oh, this moment that's happening, this situation is going to mean that I'm never going to be okay again, or I'm never going to be happy again. When in reality, things are still working out for you. You might just not know how yet. Now, I'm not saying that the situation that happened wasn't horrible or devastating, or that you had a right to feel the way that you did, because your feelings are absolutely valid. But sometimes when we stay stuck in that mindset of, this one moment is going to affect the rest of my life forever, which, sure, there are moments that are going to do that and are going to affect the rest of your life, but it doesn't have to determine whether or not you're going to be happy again, if that makes sense. So I feel like your recent past was pretty heavy, Libra, I'm not going to lie. More for Libra's recent past, please. This is for Libra's recent past. One more. This is for Libra's recent past. Yeah, something ungrounded the heck out of you. I mean, whatever it was, it created a sense of like a lack of safety. Made you feel very unsafe, very unsecure. Not necessarily insecure, it could have, but unsecure. maybe whatever it was happened very suddenly. Maybe it was something that was so intense that it affected, other areas of your life. It could be anything. But I feel like all of what has happened, whether or not you can see it yet, is leading you in a direction that you wouldn't be able to go if this didn't happen the way that it did. So bear with me. All right, current energy for Libra, clarifying the big picture and the Two of Swords. You're maybe still healing, and it's okay to still be healing. Take as long as you need to heal. Current energy for Libra, clarifying the big picture with the Two of Swords, please. All right. Current energy for Libra, please. There's that Ace of Swords again. Okay, so this message is coming out again. Something, whatever this was that fell apart, we kind of started the reading talking about it. It didn't align with you. It didn't align with what it is that you are truly deserving of. It wasn't able to give to you as much as you gave to it. That could be a relationship, a job, it could be anything. And that, I feel like, is the bigger picture perspective that the universe is asking you to see. Every loss is the opportunity for a gain in some way, shape, or form. And often when we lose something, in the moment it can feel devastating, and it can feel like we're never going to be happy and we're never going to regain our sense of safety and security. But then we heal, we learn what we need to, we grow, we move on, and we open our hearts in a whole new different way, which provides us with whole new different experiences, right? And so there is this need to kind of look at things from a bigger perspective and say, whatever it was that fell apart here, it didn't give you what it was that you gave it. It didn't invest in you the way that you invested in it. It was an unreciprocated situation. Whether that's love, respect, time, energy, whatever it is. It was an unreciprocated situation. And I feel like now you're kind of needing to, because now you're in an energy of trying to move forward. Because things were very stagnant in your recent past. This kind of happened. I feel like you probably felt stuck for a while. And now things are starting to progress again for you. And I feel like there's a need to try to look at things with a new perspective so that you don't repeat past cycles, right? If we don't learn from a relationship that doesn't serve us, we're going to repeat that relationship in different people. If we don't learn from the loss of, say, a job that doesn't serve us, we're going to learn to invest in the same kind of cycle over and over again. We have to be willing to learn from what has happened in order to shift the narrative moving forward, to shift the reality moving forward. Current energy for Libra, clarifying the big picture with the Two of Swords. Current energy for Libra, please. Current energy for Libra, please. The big picture with the Two of Swords. Current energy for Libra. Okay. You weren't treated well in that situation, Libra. Or if you're still investing in it, you're not being treated well in this, with the King of Cups in reverse. And with the Four of Swords in reverse, your soul, yeah, goodness, Libra, the Lovers in reverse, Four of Swords in reverse, this is tough energy. I mean, this is an energy of not being treated, not just like bare minimum, but like being treated actively, like, poorly. because this is accepting less than what you deserve, and your soul's really tired of you accepting less than what you deserve. Your soul's really, really tired of that. And then you have the Empress with the King of Cups in reverse. This is you, Libra, both, showing up as the Empress and just this card carrying Libra energy. And then you have this King of Cups in reverse. It feels like this situation was, it just wasn't good to you. Isn't good to you. Take it as it resonates. Because some Libras, I feel like this situation is no longer in their lives, and some Libras, I feel like, are still kind of dealing with it. So we've been accepting less than what we deserve, Libra, and that's okay. We've all had a tendency to do that. But when we accept less than what we deserve, the universe will come in and show us through that situation that we deserve more. And that can end up looking and feeling very painful. Current energy for Libra. So there's this need to zoom out your perspective, because when we look at our past and we have this perspective of everything happens to me, that perspective can be very damaging for our future, because we allow what has happened to us to define our beliefs about what's possible for us. When we experience pain, we expect pain. When we experience loss, we expect loss. When we experience suffering, we expect suffering, right? Naturally. Again, we're humans. We have a brain, and that brain is wired in a certain way. But the whole concept of healing and learning to create the life of your dreams is learning to rewire your brain to not look at what has happened to you as that's all that's possible for me, but trying to understand why something has happened so that you can make peace with it, accept it, heal from it in the way that you need, and move forward, knowing that you've learned the lesson, you've closed the door to that cycle, and you don't have to worry about that cycle repeating. When we don't learn the lesson about what has happened to us, we will move forward, and that lesson will show up in our life in other ways. And therefore, it will strengthen that belief within us that that's all that life is. And that can come in the form of repeating painful relationship cycles. It can come in the form of, never actually being able to experience the financial situation that you want. Whatever it is, it can show up in many different forms, but there's a need to recognize that there's more, there's a cycle. There's a cycle going on here, and there's a need to look at that from a bigger perspective. Okay, current energy for Libra. I just said it was a cycle. The world. And you know what? Cycles are a part of life. Cycles are a part of life, and the ones we choose to repeat are the ones that we're supposed to repeat. Let me get more on this world, though, because I feel like that's what this is Two of Swords is talking about. Oof. Okay, I get it now. Yeah, because there's the Two of Wands. I know I just shuffled, but because you have an opportunity right now, Libra, to close out a cycle. You have this Two of Swords. Things can either go one way or the other. You can either close out a cycle, or you can choose to repeat a cycle. Now, the closer you get to the end of a cycle, the more intense and heavy and difficult that things do get for you. Okay, so it's difficult when you're in the middle of closing a cycle, because all of the things that you learned during that cycle are going to come up at once, and you're going to have to use what you've learned to choose not to repeat it. So, for instance, what this can look like is, say, and this is just a general example, so still take the reading as it resonates for you, but say you are in an emotionally abusive relationship. You saw the red flags, you ignored the signs, you stayed in that connection for a lot longer than you should have. Eventually, you realize your worth, you walk away. You learn what you need to learn from that, you grieve, you heal, you find your strength, all of these things. Well, you haven't closed the cycle yet, because now, say, one of two things can happen. Say that person comes back, and you have the opportunity in that moment to say, am I going to repeat this cycle, or am I going to choose myself and do something differently this time? Say, instead of that person coming back, say you meet someone else, and say it's been a really long time since you dated anyone. You meet this person, and this person, the way that they act towards you after a couple of weeks of getting to know them is very eerily similar to what you experienced in a past relationship. And in that moment, you're going to have to use the lessons that you learned to not invest in that situation again and instead to choose differently. The key to closing out cycles is to choose differently, make different decisions, move differently. And it's hard because, especially if you haven't, gotten to a place where you fully understand why the past has happened, it can be hard not to repeat those cycles in the future. That's why learning, and this is why I do past, present, and future readings, is because learning how your past has affected your current energy is the only way to stop allowing it to affect your future energy. So that's the way that I like to lay out these readings, is here's what's happened, here's how it's affecting you, and here's how to not let it affect you anymore. And so you are right now, Libra, you're in the middle of a cycle and of coming to the end of that cycle and closing that cycle. And you're at this crossroads here. Now, if you do repeat a cycle and you say go back to a relationship or accidentally get into a relationship with someone that's vastly, not vastly different, it's very similar to, the person in your past, that's okay. Because that means that in that moment, that's exactly what you need to be doing. You are always exactly where you need to be. Reading is not for me to put pressure on you. It's to bring to your awareness the way that cycles have affected your life and giving you the power to do it differently this time so that those cycles don't continue to affect you moving forward. All right. Intuition with the 7 of Swords in reverse. And maybe that's what your intuition is saying, is this. Maybe you know that these cycles are going to try to repeat themselves. Immediate future here for Libra. Immediate future for Libra. Immediate future for Libra. Ooh. Hangman, High Priestess, the Empress. Your intuition, you have intuition in the High Priestess, right? That pretty much means the same thing. Sure, higher self, higher wisdom, things like that. But the way that I'm reading it is kind of alluding to this intuition card. Then you have the Hangman and the Empress. Your intuition and your higher self has been guiding you to try to surrender to the unknown. Because a lot of times we don't realize how our subconscious will repeat cycles for us without us really having that into our awareness, because it's comfortable. Our ego loves predictability. It loves to know exactly how things are going to play out. It loves to know what's going to look like. And even if those cycles are painful, it's still preferable to your ego because your ego maintains a false sense of control in saying this is how things are going to play out. And I know that. Now, your conscious version of you, because remember, 95% of our movements, choices, and decisions are subconscious. 5% of the way that we interact with our reality is conscious. So that 5% of you is probably saying, I want things to go different this time. But then oftentimes, if we aren't aware of our repeated cycles, that 95% of us will continue to repeat those cycles without us really being fully involved in that process. And so your immediate future is surrendering to your intuition over your ego. And your ego is the loudest voice that you have. It's the one that's going to scream the loudest. It's going to be the most demanding, the one that's going to come up more when you are feeling extra emotional and when you are overthinking. That's going to be the voice of your ego. Your ego is the voice of the mind. Your intuition is the voice of your spirit. It's the inner feeling, the inner knowing, the inner guidance that's soft. It's quiet. It's usually probably going to be the most uncomfortable because it's going to try to push you out of your comfort zone. But it's both uncomfortable and comforting at the same time. So you have to learn to decipher between the voice of the mind and the voice of the ego. Or sorry, the voice of the mind and the ego and the voice of the soul, of the spirit, of the intuition. And so your immediate future is about learning to do that. Because your ego, the voice of the mind, is going to try to keep you stuck in believing that what you've experienced is all that you're deserving of. So you should go back to repeating those experiences because that's as good as it can get. Because your ego is going to do everything it can in its power to keep you cycles, because again, those cycles are predictable and your ego loves that predictability. So your immediate future is opening yourself up to a different way of doing things by tapping into that intuitive guidance over mental guidance. Doesn't mean like toss all logic out the window. You got to find a balance between the two. But immediate future for Libra. And that's what I feel like it is. It's like as you follow that intuitive guidance and you have the Seven of Swords in reverse, it's almost like more and more information will be revealed to you. You follow, it's like driving in a car at night. You don't really know, you have the headlights on, you can only see so far in front of you, and you don't really know how the road's going to go until you start approaching it and you start seeing, because of the headlights, how to move forward. And that's kind of what following your intuition and following spiritual guidance and following your spiritual path and creating the life of your dreams, that's what it's like. Is as you move forward in faith and in intuition, and that includes making, when you're driving in a car at night, you're putting a lot of freaking trust in those headlights, right? So it's almost like your intuition is the headlights. It will always reveal the next step. It will always reveal information to you that you need to know at that time. It's our job to learn how to listen to it and ultimately to decipher it from, again, the voice of the ego. All right, immediate future for Libra. It's like something. The Nine of Wands in reverse and a Strength. And there's that ego voice. Okay. When you're following your path, when you're trying to create a new life for yourself, when you're trying to step out of your comfort zone and you're trying to do things differently and choose yourself and, love yourself, you're going to hit blockages. You are going to hit bumps in the road. You are going to hit times that feel like you're wrong for trusting yourself and choosing yourself and loving yourself. Okay, there will always be those blockages. Now, the goal is to learn not to allow those blockages, because in those times when you're facing blockages and obstacles and things like that in your life, that's when your ego is going to be the loudest, because it's going to go, I told you so. I told you should have played it safe. I told you should have stayed in that relationship. I told you should have gone back to that person. I told you should have done blah, 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 blah. Because it's going to say, you're not deserving of better. You should have just stayed where you were at. You're not deserving of better. You should have just stayed where we've always stayed, So the most important thing when you're investing in your future is to remember that faith in not just the universe is important, but faith in yourself. Faith in knowing who you are, what you're deserving of, what you're capable of, what you desire is all possible because you know who you are and what you're capable of. And so leaning on kind of that inner strength, which is kind of that inner confidence that comes from within, is going to be imperative for you and your immediate future, because you are kind of at this crossroads. And if you and when you're facing blockages, again, it's almost like those blockages become the reflection of these limiting beliefs that we have. So these blockages are going to reflect back at you. See, you're not deserving enough. See, you're not good enough. See, you're not capable enough. And it's up to you not to believe those limiting beliefs, but then believe in the strength, this newfound strength that you've had, this newfound sense of self that you've created, so that you can move forward on your path in a way that helps you create a new wonderful life for yourself, instead of staying stuck in the experiences that you've always experienced, because you don't want to experience what you've always experienced, right? Especially if there's pain and suffering and loss and lack in those experiences. You want to be able to create different for yourself, a life of abundance, a life of freedom, a life of fulfillment. So that is a huge part of your immediate future. Immediate future for Libra, please. One more. Immediate future for Libra, please. And as you follow your intuition, you will receive confirmation for that as well. It might take time. Look at that. New beginning with the sun. If you're able to do all of these things, If you're able to work through these blockages, to choose yourself, to put your, yourself first, to choose differently, I guess is ultimately what I'm trying to say. If you're able to do that, you have a new beginning with the happiness that you thought you lost in your past. Okay? So I really think that there's a lot of good coming for the Libras. And yes, this is a Libra reading, but a lot of this advice can be applied to anyone. But there's a lot of good coming for you, Libra, as long as you continue to make decisions from a bigger picture perspective. Make decisions from that higher perspective. And that higher perspective being, if you knew that what you were deserving of and capable of and what you dreamt was possible and that you couldn't fail and that the universe would support you every single step of the way and that you were deserving and that you were good enough, if you knew all of that, you probably wouldn't have made a lot of the decisions that you did in your past. You probably wouldn't have settled. You thought you had to settle because you thought that's what as good as it got for you, and that's not your fault. The reason that you felt that way is because that's what you've experienced. That's what you've been taught. It's not your fault. But if you want your life to change and you want to experience better for yourself, you have to learn to shift that belief system in alignment with where you want to go instead of where you have been. All right, Libra, this reading was talking about what you need to know, and this extended reading is going to talk about what you need to do. So it's really easy to talk about these higher level concepts, but breaking it down on a day-to-day basis is the point of these extended readings. So I'm going to hop on over to that. I'm going to clarify these messages. I'm going to, give some advice just from my spiritual coaching perspective, and then I have an actual advice/affirmation card to pull from Spirit at the end. Thank you so much, Libra, as always, for your support of my channel. It truly does mean the world to me. And as always, Libra, I wish you nothing but love and healing on your journey moving forward. All right, bye, Libra.